Hello there. I'm Kios, Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Lounge Ronin. All things, everything. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And on this episode, we're going to discuss the Legend of Agartha, the city of the underworld. Now, this will be a light introduction, and with all things, everything, I implore you to please do your own research, as you might be surprised about what you discover about the world and yourself. Now, let's get into it. Hello there, I'm Kios, Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Art and Music, home to Ronin Music, Lounge Ronin, all things, everything, the Monday Mindset, Rants, and Ronin Reviews. We strive to make holistic and authentic content that aims to improve your individuality, mental fortitude, and peace of mind. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love. Agartha, exploring the legends of a hidden subterranean world. For some reason, we've long been obsessed with the idea of lost cities and advanced hidden civilizations. A classic example of this is the ongoing hunt for Agartha, a legendary city supposedly hidden beneath the Earth's surface, often linked with the Hollow Earth theory. Agartha is described as a hidden realm inhabited by advanced beings, possessing profound wisdom. It has close ties to the ancient Buddhist mythology, and everyone from the 19th century occultists to Nazis and New Age hippies have searched for it. No one has found it. Does Agartha exist? Probably not, but the stories surrounding those who claim it does are fascinating. Reminds me a little bit of Admiral Byrd. The Hunt for Agartha, Origins and Ancient Legends. The legend of Agartha has deep ties to ancient myths and fascinating esoteric traditions. Multiple cultures across the globe have embraced the idea of the world beneath the earth. Ancient Greek mythology frequently refers to the underworld of Hades, while Hindu texts mention Patala, a subterranean realm inhabited by serpent-like horrors known as Nagas. Even some Christians have been known to believe that hell is literally a place beneath their feet. As for Agartha itself, it began to gain prominence in the 19th century thanks to the rise of the Hollow Earth theory. These theories suggested that the Earth was either completely hollow or at least constant vast interior spaces that had advanced civilizations. Early proponents of this idea, such as John Cleves Symes Jr. and Cyrus Teed, suggest that entrances to these inner worlds could be found at the poles. Now, there is, and man, I should have pulled it up, but there are photos. And you can actually look it up. Actually, you can look it up. It's really easy. If you just look up Russian satellite photos of the poles from the 1960s, and they show a massive hole in the North Pole. You can find these. I know it sounds crazy. Maybe at the end, I might pull them up if we have time. We'll see, but it's a real thing. Let's continue. A major influence on the modern legend of Agartha came from Theosophy, a spiritual movement founded by Helena Blavatsky in the late 19th century. Blavatsky's writings often mentioned mystical cities beneath the Earth's surface, describing them as centers of ancient wisdom and spiritual power. She and her followers, such as William Scott Elliott, elaborated on these ideas, portraying Agartha as a utopian city guided by enlightened beings. Key accounts and historical figures. Unsurprisingly, there's no solid proof that Agartha exists, because it doesn't. Nearly all information we have on it comes from various explorers and mystics who claim that they either went there themselves or met someone who had. One of the earliest published mentions of Agartha as a subterranean realm appeared in Louis Jacquelot's 1870 book, Les Filles de Dieu, The Sons of Gods. In this book, the Frenchman claimed that his Brahmin friends of Chandranagore, India, had told him the story of Agartha. According to them, this was an ancient city that had been destroyed almost 5,000 years ago, just before the Kali Yuga, the fourth shortest and worst of the yugas in Hinduism's yuga cycle. It was quite a while until Agartha captured the attention of Europeans again. In 1910, the French occultist Gerald Cusius edited and republished in 1886 account by the famous 19th century French occultist Alexandre Saint-Yves de l'Alandre, in Mission de Inde en Europe. Saint-Yves claimed to have learned of Agartha while learning Sanskrit from someone he called Haji Sharif. Well, where do you think Oppenheimer learned how to create the nuclear bomb or the atomic bomb? He read Sanskrit, and he learned, and he got messages from the Vedas. He read the Vedas and he learned how to create the atom bomb. I'm just bringing that to your attention because we covered it earlier this episode, this week. But like, it's just something to keep in mind. If Oppenheimer was reading Sanskrit and reading the Vedas, and that gave him the knowledge and the capabilities to create the atomic bomb, what other types of mysteries could you be learning from Sanskrit that might actually prove existence of such a location such as Agartha? If he can create the atomic bomb from reading Sanskrit, is it not possible that Agartha could actually exist? Just something to keep in mind when you do your own personal studies. This time referred to as Agartha, it was a strange and ancient place where the original language of mankind was said to be preserved. In his book, Saint-Yves claimed to have received telepathic communication from those who still lived there and reckoned he had even visited via astral projection, something we know that the CIA has programs on. Saint-Yves wrote that Agartha was a utopian society ruled over by advanced beings with profound spiritual and scientific knowledge. According to Saint-Yves, Agartha was a place of harmony and enlightenment, contrasting starkly with the surface world's chaos and conflict. While Jacquelet had believed Agartha to be long gone, Saint-Yves strongly believed, or claimed to believe, that it still existed. He reckoned it was as strong as ever and had moved underground at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. A little later, a Polish writer and adventurer called Ferdynand Osułowski entered the discussion with his 1922 book, Beasts, Men, and Gods. In this book, he recounts his travels across Mongolia and his encounters with the lamas who spoke of hidden kingdom called Agartha. Now, here we have a cross-sectional drawing of the planet Earth showing the interior world. Now, these drawings go back thousands of years. Here's the thing, the whole concept of Agartha is not a new idea. And drawings of Agartha have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands. So it's just a concept that you have to keep in mind that, you know, as you've known, and I have stressed this on this channel, and especially with this show, you know, we do not know the true history. We do not even know the true history of this planet. Think about how much information and history about this planet has been suppressed or destroyed intentionally. So all I'm saying is these are things to just keep in mind. And look at here, it says North Pole, and you see there's a hole. And I've told you, there are Russian satellite images that show a hole in the North Pole, and they claim that the Aurora Borealis is exhaust coming out from from the center of the earth where there is a micro sun, as you see in this picture. I know it sounds wild what I'm saying. Well, then go look into the information of Admiral Byrd. I probably will cover him on here. I have covered a little bit of Hollow Earth on here. It's one of my older streams, but I cover the concave Hollow Earth. If you want to know about that, check out my earlier stream. But the point that I'm making is that we tend to think that the ancients were kind of crazy when they have such, wild and outlandish concepts. But the reality is, they're not like us. They're not embellishing things like we do nowadays. There's a reason why we have nonfiction and fiction categories. But back then, they wrote and drew what they saw and experienced. That's why some of those cave paintings get a little funny when you start seeing what looks like spaceships or aliens, or these hybrid animal human beings. Just something to keep in mind in your own personal studies. Let's continue. According to them, Agartha was a massive underground network ruled by the king of the world, a man with immense wisdom and power. Following World War I, German occultist groups inspired by writers like Ossendowski took an interest in Agartha and began searching for it. Some may say they found it. Things took a more troubling turn during World War II when Nazi occultists began showing an interest. Members of the Thule Society, a secretive group with a deep interest in Aryan mythology and the occult, believed in the existence of Agartha. If you're interested in the Aryan mythology, I did a live stream, or you can check the Lounge Ronin playlist called the truth behind the Aryan race, something like that. So I highly implore you after this video to check that one out. It's a great video. It gets really kinky and we do a bit of a deep dive. Let's continue. Of course, being Nazis, they used the story of Agartha to further their own racist beliefs. They speculated that Agartha housed the remnants of an ancient Aryan super race with advanced technology and knowledge. Some of them even proposed expeditions to find entrances to this racist wonderland. I love the way you said that. To this racist wonderland. Oh, that's hilarious. Particularly the Poles. This might sound like fantasy, but Hitler was a recorded believer in the occult, and much of the Nazi ideology was founded in similar bizarre occult claims. Yeah, like everything else. Alrighty, let's keep going. Agartha in modern culture. The Nazis never found Agartha, but modern culture's interest in it never disappeared completely. The legend has continued to evolve, mainly thanks to the fact that people tend to confuse it with the legendary Buddhist spiritual kingdom of Shambhalana from the Vajrayana Buddhism and Tibetan Kalakrakan teachings. I did do a video on the kingdom of Shambhalana. It's in the live stream section, or you can check out Lounge Ronin playlist. And it's called The Kingdom of Shambhalana and the Nazi Connection. Highly recommend you check that out after this episode. It's a doozy, and we do a deep dive. Let's continue. This society believes that the real Agartha is a massive network of caves located under Tibet, inhabited by demigods called Asuras. Here we have an image of the founder of the Theosophical Society, Elena Petrovna Gan, born Russia 1831, died in England 1891. An offshoot of the Theosophy taught by Helena and Nicholas Roerich continued to add to the legend of Agartha. According to these two, Agartha is both a spiritual and physical place, reinforcing the idea of an enlightened subterranean realm. The Roerich's expedition and writings further popularized the concept, suggesting that these mythical realms could be accessed through spiritual means. That might explain why the Nazis never found it. Conclusion. These days, some people continue to believe in the idea of a hollow earth, in the same way some believe in a flat one. Some even bizarrely believe in both at the same time. Sadly, all the evidence points to the earth being round and pretty solid. Yet the legend of Agartha remains a compelling blend of ancient myths, esoteric teachings, and modern imagination. From its origins in early subterranean myths and the Hollow Earth theory to the detailed accounts of the figures like Louis Jacaliot, Friedlin Osendarowski, and Saint Yves de Alvidre, Agartha has been a subject of fascination and speculation. The association with Shambhalana entered its rivalry by the Theophatics, and the Roricks have further enriched the narrative, intertwining spiritual and physical realms. Today, Agartha is usually depicted by the media as a mysterious symbol of hidden wisdom, enlightenment, and utopia ideals. While the city itself may not exist, there's nothing wrong with searching for wisdom and enlightenment, but our time would be better spent building a utopia than looking for a legendary one. Well then, hey, let's continue our light dive into Agartha. I'm really itching to pull up those photos. I'm really itching to. At the end, I think I will. All right. This article was updated October 6, 2016. The ancient ancestral myth of the Hollow Earth and underground civilizations. Hold on, let me take a quick sip. All right. Countless stories, myths, and legends are told about underground cities and subterranean civilizations, spread through a vast network of interconnected tunnels across the planet. There are many rumors surrounding these underground portals. We have only to remember the mysterious stories that revolve around the tunnels and galleries of the Cueva de los Tallos in Ecuador, or stories about entrances to underground worlds supposedly located in the Andes, the Himalayas, the Gobi Desert, Turkey, and even below the Sphinx of Giza. The Hollow Earth Theory and an Expedition to the Arctic. The Hollow Earth Theory states that the Earth is a hollow planet, with ancient entrances to the subterranean world scattered throughout it, including near both polar caps. This theory has been reported since ancient times, and scientists such as Edmund Halley have defended it throughout history. From 1818 to 1826, the American John C. Simons passionately supported the theory as well. According to him, there was a subterranean world inside our planet illuminated by a tiny sun, and that it included mountains, forests, and lakes. Simons launched a national campaign aiming to raise the necessary funds to send an expedition to the Arctic to search for an entrance to the subterranean world. He even sent a proposal to the United States Congress with the intention of getting government assistance to find the entrance to the inner world. Yeah, they're not going to let you find out their secrets, bro. Why are you going to go to the United States government? Man, they got one of the entrances roped off right now as we speak. Unfortunately for him, he died before the government did allocate funding for his purpose, and the expedition departed in 1838. Oh, excuse me. Although in truth, its goals were not altruistic. Well, this is the U.S. government we're talking about. Come on now. We know that. In reality, it was part of the ploy as world powers were trying to learn the importance of the only land not yet conquered the world. Both polar caps, regardless, commanded by Charles Wilkes, the expedition lasted 4 years. It served to discover the vast geographical extent of the Arctic, but no sign of a passage into Earth was found, so they say. Nevertheless, the ideas of science remained anchored in the minds of a handful of writers who tend to love the search for attention of seemingly impossible dreams. Thus, Edgar Allan Poe, Jules Verne, and H.P. Lovecraft, among many others, paid tribute to the fascinating theory of the hollow earth. Here we have an illustration by Edmund Roy in 1864 from the original edition of Journey to the Center of the Earth by the famous Jules Verne. I mean, they say that they want to claim that it's fantasy and it's not real. Then why make so many films and TV shows that talk about the hollow earth? They never make films or TV shows about living on a flat earth. but they have made so many films and shows about a hollow earth. Look at um, the Kong and Godzilla series, which I recently watched, Godzilla X Kong, and holy smokes, do I fucking love that film. Apologize for my language. I, I, I love how I didn't want to say the S word, but then I go for the bigger swear. But that film, that one, King Kong versus Godzilla, they all talk about the hollow earth. I mean, there are conspiracies theorists' wet dream films. I mean, the intros alone are drop feeding so much stuff about the world that it's crazy. And we know this. We know this, that the US government, the finest in propaganda, in modern propaganda, we know that they will use film and television and books and stuff to, say the quiet part out loud, but they obfuscate it in fantastical and ridiculous ideas and concepts. It's just something to keep in mind. I mean, Godzilla X Kong, I was losing it. I mean, it had everything: Hollow Earth, it had portals, it had crystals, it had telepathic humans from an instinct civilization. I mean, it had everything. I was losing it. It had Kong beating the brakes out of monkeys, using a baby as a bat, a baby monkey. I mean, it was amazing. But I digress. I'm just saying, they're drop feeding like crazy. Let's continue. Sorry for that Ronin rant. I just had to get that out my system. Interest in the hollow earth theory did not end there. In fact, the 12th century, with a knowledge of geography and geology of the earth that was still lacking, there were those who continued trying to access that mysterious world under the earth's crust. For example, some of the Nazi leaders, the lovers of ancient myths and the occult in Germany, showed a marked interest in these types of theories. History of the Hollow Earth. History of the Hollow Earth theory. Edmund Halley, 1656 to 1742, the English scientist who studied the comet that bears his name. Oh, Halley's Comet. Okay, yeah. May have been the first to develop the scientific hypothesis about the hollow Earth. After a series of observations of the Earth's magnetic field, Halley concluded that the anomalies observed could only be expelled if the Earth was composed of two spheres, an external solid one and an internal hollow one, each with its own magnetic axis. Here we have Edmund Halley with a drawing that shows his hollow Earth theory. Later on, an American, Cyrus Teed, became convinced that it was mathematically impossible to discern whether we are inside or outside of a sphere. Oh, God. So we could live inside a hollow universe. In the center, it would be the sun, with the planets and the stars only appearing bright to us because they reflect sunlight on the surface of the concave Earth. This land was called Koresh, which is the Hebrew translation of its own name, Cyrus. Teed even founded a church, and its adherents remained active and defending these ideas until at least 1982. Damn. While the dawn of the 20th century, other scholars such as William Reed and Marshall Gardner also believed that there could be provided evidence of the existence of our inner world. One of the most curious facts wielded as an argument made by some Arctic explorers was that air and water temperatures warmed as they approached the North Pole. Based on these and other observations, they also claimed that mammoths were not extinct, but still inhabiting the interior of the Earth. Previously mentioned, there were Nazi leaders who supported the hollow Earth, theory. Adolf Hitler also believed in the hollow Earth theory, but for him, it provided the location where the pure and perfect Aryans, who he thought dominated the world, would meet. What is more, the German Thule Society, the main esoteric circle The Monastic Circle of the time held a very close hypothesis, although theirs was related to the myths of the lost underground kingdoms of Agartha and Shambhala. Here we have Adolf Hitler and several of his colleagues firmly believed in the Hollow Earth theory. There's Hitler on the far left. Excuse me. Meanwhile, the first man to fly over the poles, Richard E. Byrd, in his report, he said, inspected about 26,000 kilometers, 16,155 miles around and beyond the pole. This simple sentence with the words beyond the pole are the foundations on which many advocates of the Hollow Earth theory accuse the U.S. government, who funded Byrd's flight, of a cover-up, saying that Byrd went into the inner Earth. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to probably do a series covering Admiral Byrd's personal journal. It's pretty wild. Here we have the Arctic continent of Hyperborea as shown in the Agartha's Mercator Atlas of 1595. Shambhala myths and Agartha. Myths are as old as humanity itself. So are the myths of being that inhabited the depths of the earth. In contrast to the angels of heaven, tradition generally sent demons underground. A clear example is the Christian hell. In contrast, Central Asia Buddhists believe in the wonderful land under our feet, which is known as Agartha or Agartha. Agartha is supposedly a place where beings are more beautiful and much wiser than we are, and which has a king that has the power to read the human soul. For thousands of years, Tibetan scholars, besides teachings about the inner world, say they are in the contact with this king of the inner world, or supreme ruler of the entire planet, for whom the Dalai Lama is a representative for the outside world. They also speak and write about tunnels and connect Tibet with the inner world, which they protect, saying that there are many others scattered across the earth, such as those founded under the Great Pyramids of Egypt and South America. Entrances to subterranean cities also said to exist around the vast Amazon basin, for example, connecting the lost city of El Dorado with the rest of the ancient world. The capital of this inner world, and therefore the whole world, is said to be a city called Shambhala, where the king of the world resides and his court of advanced beings tech some of humanity about science, art, religion, and philosophy. The Shambhala Tibetan headquarters of the spiritual government of humanity may be located in the vicinity of Balkh, a former Afghan settlement known as the Mother of Cities. According to the prestige scholar on Tibet, Alexander David Neal, the folk traditions of Afghanistan say that after the Muslim conquest, Balkh was called Shams-e-Bala, Candle High, which seems a transformation from the Sanskrit Shambhala into Persian. I'm telling you, man, this is a very kinky myth. But let's continue. And as I like to say, to quote a great thing from Star Wars, there is always a bit of truth in legends. And I highly recommend everyone keep that in mind when they do their own research into the hidden history of our world. All right. This article was updated August 27th, 2022 by Joanna Gillen. Underground cities around the world, myths and realities. Underground structures and sometimes even entire cities have always been part of myths and religion around the world. While a few of these have been discovered, most of them have not. Alongside these stories about underground cities, there are also tales of underground networks and tunnels connecting different locations or even countries, sometimes extending for many miles. In this article, we will explore some of the myths and legends that refer to underground cities and tunnels from a variety of cultures. We will also touch on information uncovered by archaeologists and researchers, and how these findings may be connected to such stories. These tales of mythical underground cities have captured the imagination of generations of history enthusiasts. Underground networks and cities. Wait, hold on. Underground networks and cities of myths and legends. According to the mythological traditions across the globe, underground cities were mostly referred to as entrances to the underworld, although most of us think of the underworld as a representation of hell and therefore an imaginary or spiritual setting for so called bad people. Within ancient religions, this wasn't always the case. The dead would travel to the underworld, a place which had physical entrances and guards, buildings, and cities. Few mortals would visit or even communicate with the dead souls, gods, kings, or the armies of the underworld. In few cases, though, according to legends, they could even resurrect a dead person. Realms of the underworld, underground cities in ancient mythology. One of the most famous mythological underground cities is the city of Agartha, a legendary city that was said to be in the center of the Earth's core. Central Asia is the origin of the legends of Agartha, and the race of inhabiting this underground realm was called the Agarthi. Theophatics refer to Agartha as a vast complex of caves and underground networks that was inhabited by the Asuryas, evil demons, and the enemies of the gods. This underground network was supposedly made by man. In Hindu mythology, there are legends of a race called the Nagas, intelligent serpent-like creatures with human faces said to live in underground caverns. The Nagas are described as children of gods, immortal and able to fly, who got married with human kings and queens and supposedly spiritual advance. You actually see one of those in The Golden Child starring Eddie Murphy, one of the greatest films ever made. Similarly, within Chinese legends, dragons were not the only ugly flying beasts, as we know them today, but rather wise creatures that would be mentors of kings and creators of kingdoms. Tibetan legends speak of people entering the caves of the Naga and said to have been part of the network running for many miles within the mountains of Asia. Here we have a Cambodian depiction of ancient Naga creature from the underworld. What is interesting is that a strange light emanates in those underground realms, which has also been mentioned as the hollow earth inner sun. So within these mythical tales, underground cities are not in the dark one would imagine. Some of these underworlds are believed to be found within the earth, although in the past they were located on its surface. Legends have it that they were forced to move underground due to extreme circumstances such as attacks or maybe even climate change or cataclysmic events, which we are well aware of. You look at the cities in Turkey, the underground cities in Turkey that have ventilation systems. They have stone doors that can close. They had false entrances and false tunnels for invaders. They could store livestock and grain, and there are 20 more levels that have been blocked off, that are not allowed for any exploration. And I wonder why. And it's said that the underground cities in Turkey connect all the way to Ireland. You know, when you listen to Graham Hancock, you listen to Randall Carlson, these cataclysms, these events, and you listen and you hear about these underground cities. Petra. There is another entrance to Petra. Petra is an underground city. You know, it was used in Indiana Jones. They don't explore it in that regard, but it is technically an underground city. There are two entrances into Petra. I don't know how many of you guys were aware of that, but you know, these ideas of these massive underground cities, they're nothing new. I mean, we covered on here the Cascadia continent, which was a continent located in California, Ontario, not Ontario, Washington State, located in those areas. And there were people who lived on the Cascadia continent and survived this massive cataclysm, and they describe what they experienced. So we have to think about these ancient cataclysms and how does that connect to these underground cities. Just something to keep in mind in your studies. Let's continue. Shambhala, a Sanskrit word meaning place of peace, is another famous holy place that some beliefs hold to be spiritual paradise. Others, however, believe Shambhala is a real underground city, and throughout history there are stories of people actually visiting it. Legends mention that the king of Shambhala traveled to the India to meet the Buddha and listen to his teachings. One major difference between Agartha and Shambhalana is that the first is remembered as a place of demons, while Shambhala is described as a holy city. According to Helena Blavatsky, Shambhala is located in the Gobi Desert. American legends of underground cities. On the other side of Earth, we have the American legend of Akakor, a tale which inspired the 2008 adventure movie Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. In Chronicle of Akakor, Tatukanka Nara, an Amazon jungle guide, claimed to have seen the city and described not only the city, but also the chronicles of the underground kingdom. According to Akara legends, gods came from solar systems known as Suerta and built an underground tunnel system in South America. This civilization left 13 underground cities in South America in the jungles of Amazon, none of which have been found so far. In Maya mythology, we have the mythical underground city of Xibalba and the land that the sun goes down into, which was inhabited by superheroes and gods, a civilization that supposedly vanishes around the Middle Ages. The entrance to this world was thought to be located in Guatemala. The depiction of the structures and locations within Xibalba are described as Popul Vuh, the Quiche Maya story of creation. European mythology and tales of underground cities. Back in Greece, we have the myths of Hades and the underground and the underworld, a realm where gods and heroes lived. Within Greek mythology, Plato, aka Hades, was god of the underworld, with the afterlife divided into different sections including Elysium and Tartarus. Norwegian legends speak of dwarves being of the underworld associated with craftsmanship. The different races of dwarves were believed to supply the gods with weapons. Irish legends also speak of the underworld with their stories of the people named Tuatha De Danann, people of the goddess Duna, a race who moved underground when a rival people arrived on the island. According to the legends, they came to Ireland in dark clouds and landed on the mountains of Ireland. These days, the Tuatha De Danann are referred to as fairies. One of the Irish poems described them in the following manner: "It is God who suffered them, though he strained them. They landed with honor, with lofty deed, in their cloud of mighty combat of spectres, upon the mountain of cormorants of Connacht, without distinction or discerning Ireland, without ships, a ruthless course. The truth was not known beneath the sky of stars, whether they are of heaven or of earth." Further accounts of underground realms. In Egypt, the historian Herodotus and Strabo recounted tales of a colossal underground temple that contained 3,000 rooms full of paintings and hieroglyphs, a lost labyrinth which has yet to be found. Meanwhile, in modern times, stories of people accessing these underground realms continue to proliferate. Archival evidence seemed to point to Hitler and the Nazis having discovered an entrance to the center of the earth in Antarctica. The Nazis decimated claims of civilizations of superhumans living inside the earth. Even today, some people continue to believe that the Nazis were in contact with them, directing them and even sharing technology with them. While there is no proof of that kind of contact, we definitely know that during World War II, the Nazis possessed cutting-edge technology which often surpassed that of their enemies. The concept of the hollow earth is popular, though disproved, concept popular in the realms of pseudoscience. It has also been used with subterranean fiction novels in books such as At the Earth's Core by Edgar Rice Burroughs, A Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne, or Message Found in a Bottle by Edgar Allan Poe. Stories about vast underground cities and inhabited by godlike beings, more advanced and more intelligent than the current humanity, are intriguing. You can continue reading about them in part 2 of this article, which covers some of the discoveries of vast underground networks which have been uncovered to date. And that concludes part 1 of the Legend of Agartha, the city of the underworld. As I've said, ladies and gents, Graham Hancock has, eloquently stated we are species with amnesia, and we have suffered so many cataclysms that we don't know the truth. We have been suppressed from knowing the truth. Excuse me. Through government entities such as the Rockefeller education system, the Smithsonian, and their illicit and illegal and unethical practices regarding ancient sites and archaeology in ancient North America. These are things that we all need to take into consideration. As the truth continues to be unveiled, we will learn what it really means to be human and what it really means to exist on this earthly plane. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Ronin. All things, everything. If you've made it this far, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.